Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What kind of slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump just continues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports Saturday, March 28th. We're going to talk all the sports here, man. We got a massive hockey card or hockey board today. Not card, because I'm actually skipping the entire hockey board. I don't like it well enough, man. We'll talk about it. I'll give you what I think may be the strongest opinions there, but I don't love them enough. A few NBA games we'll talk about. I don't have anything there either. I will have a college basketball play in the Elite 8 round here. I like it well enough, and I'm going to have one baseball play. So I'm being very, very selective here, and hopefully we can get both of these and go 2-0. I like both of these plays. We went 2-1 on the show yesterday. Houston Astros were a loss. The Astros. I don't know what's going on with them, man. I don't know what to tell you. That was horrible. Burrows didn't get it done for us. I mean, he had basically one bad inning, and that was the entire game pretty much. Just Astros were down a few runs. You keep thinking, well, they might be able to actually come back here because Anaheim's pitching is so bad. But no, that did not happen. The other two should have been way easier winners. The under in Detroit, San Diego, if you played that first 5 inning under, I think there were no runs scored, so that was an easy win if you did that. It should have been easy the whole way, man. It was a 1-0 game in like the 7th inning, I want to say. And then it got extremely dicey, pretty much because Detroit against San Diego's very good bullpen. San Diego had one of the best bullpens in baseball last year and hasn't changed that much personnel-wise. Detroit put up like 5 runs maybe in the top of the 8th or something, which put it right on 7, and luckily no more runs scored after that, so we still got the under, the win there with the under 7.5. It should have been a lot easier, though. First 5 apparently was the better play there, but you wouldn't think that with those 2 bullpens. I know the bullpens got a little bit used the prior night, but that's just like normal bullpen usage. So I don't know. And then the Chicago Bulls, I mean, that game was looking like such an easy cover for almost the entire game. The Bulls were winning the game outright for more than like half the game, and they were still within like 2 or 3 points at the end of the third quarter. Like, all right, this is clearly going to be a cover. Like, just all they have to do is not get outscored by like 20 points in the fourth quarter. And then I look like 5 minutes later, and they're down 20 at plus 19.5. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It was like they hadn't even scored in the entire fourth quarter at all. Like, how do you get outscored by 20 points in the fourth quarter? But luckily, they actually still covered. They lost by 18, so we still got that one. And, I think it was the right call. That should not have happened. Like, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like, it was clearly the right call, but we did get the winner with that. The number, I believe, was mostly 19 when the game went off, but they lost by 18, so I'm pretty sure anybody who played that got a win on that. Charles, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Yes, correct. Kyle, what's up? the intro video. Dude, I keep forgetting the name of the dude that did the music for it, though. I took the music and I can tell you the clips are from Laney. So shout out to Laney. But I wish I remembered the name of the dude that did the music for it, because I took both of those things. I took Laney's clip montage, the music, and I put them together. So I made the finished product. All right. We're going to talk about baseball first, I guess, because there's a lot of it, and it's in the afternoon, although I know there's a little bit of afternoon hockey as well. You're going to get all the plays that I have pretty much right up front in this show. It's just the way that it is. Baseball, we have a full baseball board today. So I think every team might be playing today. I don't know if there may be a couple teams off today, because we had, I don't know why they do this where they stagger the opening days. It's something to do with rainouts. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me, really, but whatever. All right, the first game up is not until 2:15 in the afternoon, so it's later afternoon baseball, I guess, today. I don't know. Tampa Bay and St. Louis, these two teams did not play yesterday. St. Louis won 2 days ago to open the series, I believe 9-7 or something like that. I'm pretty sure Tampa Bay was winning that game 6-1, and they took Drew Rasmussen out of the game after he pitched pretty well, and then Tampa's bullpen got completely lit up by this terrible St. Louis team. Do we expect St. Louis to win again here? I mean, I think they're going to have a bad season, but they're at home and they are actually favored in this game. Joe Boyle is pitching for Tampa Bay. I don't know how to gauge Boyle, man. I mean, we haven't seen that much of him. He didn't do great when he pitched last year. Didn't pitch that much. St. Louis actually did see him last year at one point, I believe, and they have 16 at-bats off him, a 375 batting average, 882 OPS off of him. So he has not done well against St. Louis. Michael McGreevy, I think, is probably the better pitcher here. He's still young. He showed glimpses of being pretty good last year, also has shown signs of not being good. Tampa Bay has also never seen McGreevy before, so there might be a little bit of an edge for McGreevy just because he's completely unknown, but both of these starting pitchers are a little bit unknown here. The money is actually pretty much all over Tampa Bay here to bounce back after that loss, because I think they are still the better team, but this pitching matchup I'm not quite sure of. Although I think you could probably give Tampa Bay the bullpen edge based on what we saw last year. Although St. Louis actually wasn't that bad, but they got rid of a lot of those guys, I think. St. Louis, they're going to be bad this year. Their offense is also not good. So I think you could probably safely say that Tampa's going to have the better offense here. 55% of the tickets are on St. Louis, 94% of the cash, though, on Tampa Bay. My instinct on this was under, because you have rested bullpens here. At least I don't think really that either bullpen is as bad as maybe they might have looked in the first game, especially Tampa's. The first game was way high scoring, so people are going to have a tendency to not want an under here, especially when they don't know who these starting pitchers are. But because they both might have some talent, they're both young, they're both kind of unfamiliar to the opposing hitters still. Under would be my opinion in this game. 76% of the tickets are on the over, 83% of the money on the under. So, yeah, I mean, not a strong opinion for me. The next game up is going to be my actual baseball play, though. Mr. Pinsey, what's up? No. We're going to talk about that game? Yeah. I'm going to give you a lot of reasons why not only is that not the case, I think Arizona could lose that game outright. Washington and the Cubs, this is going to be my actual play. We're going to play the Cubs on the run line at -1.5. I found it out there at -112. It's maybe around -115. The number has gone up, so I think it might keep going up too. So I would say, like, try to get the best price that you can on this. We're going to go with the Cubs to just blow out this awful Washington team. People might not want it because Washington blew out the Cubs in the first game 10-4, which was really inexplicable, but the Cubs are clearly the way better team here. I think Washington might be honestly, they could be historically bad this year. I don't know how to explain what happened in that game other than, yeah, they had an unfamiliar pitcher to the Cubs. Cavalli was pitching there. We don't have to worry about that in this game, though. We don't have to worry about the Cubs being unfamiliar with Miles Mikolas, who's pitching for Washington here. They picked him up over the offseason, and I know I talked about it yesterday where I talked about how pitchers tend to want to do well when they have their first start for their new team. Yeah, that's true, but that can only go so far, man. When you're a late 30s dude like Miles Mikolas, and this guy, he's a junk pitcher. He's not that good. And you want to see his numbers against the Cubs? Yeah, oh boy. 187 at-bats worth because he was on St. Louis up until this year. He does have a good 33-3 strikeout walk ratio against him. That's not a lot of strikeouts. It's very few walks, but pretty much the reason for the few walks, it seems, is because he's just throwing it right over the plate to everybody, as you have multiple home runs in here for Bush. PCA is 7 for 9 with 5 home runs off of him. Happ has destroyed him as well. Horny has destroyed him as well. Swanson, not too bad against him. He's given up a 305 average and 872 OPS to the Cubs in a lot of at-bats. And you want to see what he did last year against the Cubs. The last 2 times he pitched in this stadium, he pitched in the season, in his last game of the season. Literally the last time he pitched was here. He gave up 3 home runs in 5 innings in a 12-1 loss to the Cubs. And yeah, I know you might argue, well, that means the next time he pitches here, he's going to do better, right? I don't know about that, because the previous time he pitched at the Cubs was that notorious game where he allowed 6 home runs to the Cubs on July 4th here in Wrigley on 10 hits in 6 innings, and they lost that game 11-3. So yeah, his track record against the Cubs, let's just say it's not good. He's going up against Cade Horton, who is clearly the better pitcher here. Had a really good season last year, kind of from out of nowhere. Young, talented pitcher for the Cubs, man. Not Scott Horton, Cade Horton. He's good. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Good numbers last year. Now, his numbers against Washington are a little bit iffy. 308 batting average allowed, 742 OPS. But I'm going to overlook that a bit because it's only in 13 at-bats. And really, I mean, what can you gauge from that? It's a small sample size. Couple of guys have a couple of hits off him. Like, I don't think you can really take that much away from that. He's clearly the way better pitcher. Cubs have the way better offense. The Cubs have the better bullpen. I mean, yeah, it's a bounce-back spot. And you have Mikolas, who's just historically, at least recent history, last year was unbelievably bad against the Cubs in Wrigley, man. Like, I'm talking about, like, that 6 home run performance was, like, historic. Like, everybody was making fun of it. And I don't see any reason to think that he's going to be better enough to win this game by any means. You know what I mean? Even if he pitches better than that, it's still not going to be good. So we are going to go with the Cubs here. They're all the way up to minus 220 already from minus 182. So I think the real money is actually playing the Cubs here. Even though it looks too easy in some ways, I think this is still the spot to do it. Because people might hesitate a little bit because everybody's going by this one-game sample size. Oh, maybe Washington could beat the Cubs here. No, they cannot. The Cubs are going to win this game easily. That's my play there. Suzuki, I have no idea. I don't really think it matters. I think he is out because he wasn't listed on that. Like the batter versus pitcher thing shows the active lineup. So yeah, he's not listed in here, so he's out. And even with him out of there, I showed you the numbers here. Mikolas has been horrible against the Cubs, so I don't think it matters at all as far as that handicap is concerned. All right. A's at Toronto. Toronto won this game yesterday 3-2. Wound up being a pitching battle. I told you Severino is better on the road, man. I thought the A's had a decent chance. If you played the A's first 5 inning plus a half run, you got totally screwed because they were winning the game 1-0 in the bottom of the 5th. That was brutal. This game is Jeffrey Springs pitching for the A's. He's all right. He's a serviceable pitcher. Against Toronto, he's been okay in 68 at-bats, 235 average, allowed 777 OPS is a little bit high, though, because he's allowed 4 home runs to them, 18-7 strikeout walk ratios. Not anything to write home about. Tough to gauge what you're going to get out of Springs. Dylan Cease will be making his first start for Toronto. He had a pretty bad season last year, I'm not going to lie, man. Him going from a very pitcher-friendly park in San Diego to Toronto, which is not as much. I don't know, man. I mentioned this signing by the Jays. I don't know if it's that good, really. Cease, I mean, he could definitely strike guys out. He can definitely throw hard, but I don't like what we saw out of him last year, especially given how pitcher-friendly that ballpark is. Now, he should get up for this game because it is his first game with his new team, so he wants to kind of get out there, prove himself. The A's are actually a pretty good lineup, though. A lot of young hitters on this team that are good. 39 at-bats against Cease, lifetime 9-8 strikeout walk ratio is not good for Cease. 282 batting average allowed, that's high as well. 763 OPS is pretty high as well. So Cease has not ceased the A's bats particularly well when he's faced them. The money is coming in on Toronto here, up to minus 184. 78% of tickets, 91% of the cash on Toronto. Man, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about it, man. I have no good read on this game at all. The money is saying Toronto in this game. My read is just, I don't have a good read on this game at all. I would almost have a tendency to lean towards an over here, over 8.5, but the money looks like it is coming in on the under in that game, so I guess do what you want with that information, but that's a total stay away. Minnesota at Baltimore. These two teams did not play yesterday. Oh, and I guess, because I'm showing, the A's, I'll show you the bullpen usage too, because why not? Yesterday, the A's used 3 relief pitchers, though their bullpen is pretty bad, so I don't know what we could really take away from that. Toronto used 3 relief pitchers as well. Couple of their better relievers, I think, because they were in a save situation yesterday, so that's the full information on that game. Minnesota and Baltimore did not play yesterday. Baltimore, I believe, won the first game. Yeah, it was only 2-1, though. So Rogers doing well again for Baltimore there. Mr. Rogers. It was a beautiful day in the neighborhood there, although that's never the case in Baltimore. But, for the Orioles it was in that game. Minnesota will have Taj Bradley. I believe they picked him up at the trade deadline last year, so I don't think this is his Minnesota debut. I think he has pitched for Minnesota a little bit, but he's a mystery to me, man, because he does have pretty good strikeout potential, but his numbers have just been bad throughout his career, so I don't know if he's ever going to turn it around or not. And the problem with facing Baltimore, of course, is that Bradley was on Tampa Bay, so Baltimore is familiar with him. They have 66 at-bats off him, a 348 batting average against him, and 1,046 OPS. So needless to say, he has not done well against Baltimore in his career. 19-5 strikeout walk ratio is not that bad, but all these other numbers are pretty awful. So again, the strikeouts are there, but he's way too hittable. He's going up against Kyle Bradish, I don't know how you pronounce his name. I believe Bradish was making relief appearances last year, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, maybe I am mistaken. I don't know. I guess it looks like he came back late in the season. I totally forgot about him, to be honest. He came back late in the season last year, and he actually pitched pretty well after he came back. So I don't know what to expect out of him. But Minnesota, not a good lineup, and they only have 7 at-bats off of Bradish in his career. Only 3 of their hitters have ever even seen him before. They're 2 for 7 with no extra base hits, 2 strikeouts, no walks. So Bradish, I think, does have the upper hand in the starting pitching matchup. The money is coming in on Baltimore. Baltimore, I mean, their bullpen was pretty bad last year, but both bullpens were bad. And Baltimore, I think, pretty clearly has the better offense out of the two teams here. 89% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Baltimore. I don't disagree with Baltimore in this one. That is probably the way that I would lean. They're up to minus 157 here. I mean, money line getting a little bit pricey. Maybe you start looking towards splitting the bet, run line, money line. You could go Baltimore over their team total maybe as well, because it's actually a fairly low total. In this one, it's 7.5, but I think Baltimore could definitely go over their team total against Bradley plus Minnesota's bullpen. So that might be the way I would look, although I know early season you tend to want to look more towards unders. And yesterday that was more the case than the day before that, at least. Texas and Philadelphia. By the way, that's a Fox Sports 1 game, Minnesota-Baltimore. And the game that we're on with the Cubs is on MLB Unlimited and ESPN, it looks like. Texas and Philadelphia, this is kind of an interesting game here where it's sort of pitching versus hitting, because Texas is a much more pitching-oriented team. Philadelphia is a more hitting-oriented team. Jacob deGrom is pitching for Texas. These two teams did not play yesterday. I believe they played the day before that. Philly won 5-3 2 days ago. deGrom, maybe the Rangers' best pitcher. I mean, he's old, but he pitched really well last year, so he still has his stuff, man. Yeah, I mean, deGrom, I think he's a Hall of Fame pitcher, man. But he's going up against a good lineup here, although now Philly is pretty familiar with him, kind of, because he was on the Mets for a lot of his career. So Philly, their long-timers have seen him a lot. They have 177 at-bats off him. 69-14 strikeout walk ratio is pretty good for deGrom. That's a lot of strikeouts. He has good numbers across the board against them, pretty much a 215 batting average allowed, 634 OPS allowed. Now, you got to take into account that some of that was when he was a completely elite pitcher, although he hasn't really dropped off that much. So I think you should actually still get a pretty decent performance out of him here. I think it's more questionable what we're going to get out of Aaron Nola, who's pitching for the Phillies. He came back last year off of Tommy John surgery, I want to say, and he was not pitching well at all. Looking like he might, some guys just don't come back from that surgery, especially when they're like in their 30s and they have to try to come back. But I will say that Nola did start pitching a little bit better very late in the season, so maybe he does still have something, because he used to be a good pitcher. He's going up against a lineup that's not that good in Texas. They have 122 at-bats off him. A lot of it is Nimmo, though, because I believe Nimmo was on the Mets, so he's seen him a lot. 39-19 strikeout walk ratio is pretty bad. That's way too many walks, but a lot of them are Nimmo. And Nimmo has not actually hit him that well. He's just kind of pitched around him, it looks like. But overall, I mean, the numbers are not that bad. 246 batting average allowed against Texas. 733 OPS is getting a little bit on the higher range. It all comes down to, do we really think Nola is, has he turned the corner and is he bouncing back? Well, the money seems to think so, because 65% of the tickets are on Texas. The public seems to want deGrom because they know his name. They don't trust Nola. 6 ERA last year. I mean, why would you? But again, like I said, if you dig into Nola's stats, he pitched a little bit better at the end of the year. Philly flipped from plus 103 to minus 109 here. It's 76% of the money on Philly here. So it's a pretty strong market read on the Phillies here. I think the thinking is basically that deGrom is just being overpriced in the market, basically, I think is the thinking here. Philadelphia definitely has the better offense, although usually I like better pitching. But then the question becomes, will Nola become like what he once was? You know what I mean? Because he was actually pretty good up until that surgery. So the old Nola would be able to have a pitching battle here against deGrom, basically, And the total is low as well. It's gone all the way down from 8.5 to 7. So a lot of the money that's coming in seems to kind of suggest that bettors are thinking that Nola, professional bettors seem to think that Nola is actually going to pitch well here. I don't want to put my money on it, but we'll see what happens, man. That's what the market read is saying. I think if you really wanted to try to play an under in this game, I mean, maybe looking in the first 5 innings might be a better approach here. Because I don't trust Philly's bullpen still. Texas's bullpen, I think, should be pretty good again. But it's also early in the season, so we don't know exactly what we're going to get here. Boston Red Sox at Cincinnati. My Red Sox will have Sonny Gray making his Red Sox debut. Like I keep saying, pitchers usually try to step it up and pitch better when they're making their debut for a team, getting, a big contract and whatever. But I mean, Gray, he was only okay last year. He is getting up there in age, and he has good command, but the problem is he's just too hittable sometimes, man. Especially now that he's older, he can't just throw it by hitters anymore. Up against the Reds, it's unfortunate because he was in the Reds division for a while with Cincinnati, so that's an unfortunate draw for him in his Red Sox debut. Reds are familiar with him, 90 at-bats against him. He does have a really good strikeout-walk ratio against them, like I keep saying, 31-4, so that stat is never a problem for Gray, but he tends to allow too many hits, hard hits. 278 batting average for the Reds against him, and 842 OPS. So Gray has not actually done that well against them. Brady Singer is pitching for the Reds. They picked him up before last season. He came over from Kansas City. He had a decent season last year. The Red Sox do have good numbers off him, though, for the most part. 71 at-bats against him. 18-6 strikeout walk ratio is pretty normal. 296 batting average allowed, though, and 731 OPS. So the Red Sox do have pretty good offensive numbers against Singer in their careers. This game, the money's coming in on the under, but I don't know if I really agree with that. I could kind of see this being a higher scoring game. It's still kind of an afternoon game. It's in a hitter-friendly ballpark in Cincinnati. The hitters are all pretty much familiar with these pitchers. But again, it is still early season, so unders do come home a lot of the time. The money is saying under here, but I would not play the under. I lean over. And the money is coming in on the Red Sox as well, up to minus 136 for minus 118. 66% of tickets, 68% of the cash coming in on the Red Sox. Now, the Red Sox, you probably do have to give them the slight edge with the starting pitcher. You probably do have to give them a slight edge on offense and probably also in the bullpen. So, just like I said in the first game, I think the Red Sox are the slightly better team all around. But is that enough to be laying a price like this? I don't know. They're a cheaper price than they were in the first game, but because, Crochet was pitching that game. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see how this Red Sox newly formed pitching staff looks here with their new top three. I believe Suarez is going to be pitching the next game, so we'll see what happens, man. I don't want to play the game, though. I don't really have a strong opinion on that game either. This next game I almost considered putting on my card, Colorado and Miami. I know it's totally ugly. These two teams did play yesterday. Whoops, that's Ken Palm. I don't trust either of these bullpens. Colorado used a few relief pitchers yesterday. No huge deal, though. Miami also used 3. Not really a ton of bullpen usage yet here. Michael Lorenzen is pitching for Colorado, and this will be his Rocky debut. Now, how rocky will it be? I don't know. He came over from Kansas City. He didn't do that well with Kansas City last year, which is not good because that was a pitcher-friendly park that he was pitching in there. Going from there to Coors Field might not be good, although at least here he's not having to pitch at Coors Field yet. So maybe he will pitch well here. Miami's a more pitcher-friendly park. These offenses are not really that great either. Now, especially Colorado. Will Lorenzen be able to pitch well in his debut with his new team? I don't know. How excited is he going to be that he's going from a potential playoff team in the Royals to a team that's a doormat like the Rockies? I don't know. Is he really going to be that excited to pitch for them? That's one concern that I have. But Miami is really unfamiliar with them. They only have 6 at-bats against him because I think he spent most of his career in the American League. They're 1 for 6 off him with 3 strikeouts and no walks. Only 3 of their hitters have ever faced him before. So Lorenzen might have the upper hand there because, again, I talk about how pitchers have a little bit of an edge if the opposing lineups have never seen them before. And Yuri Perez is pitching for Miami. You know me, I like him. I like Perez, even though I think he had 2 Tommy John surgeries before the age of 22. It's a lot easier to bounce back from that when you're that young. Perez has some really, really good stuff, man. And he's 6'8", so, his arm angle is kind of strange. If you watch the way he pitches, he has a really, really weird, really weird movement towards the plate that throws guys off, and he throws pretty hard, too. I like Perez. He's a good pitcher. Colorado only has 18 at-bats off him, and they have not been successful against him. 111 batting average against him, 571 OPS, 5-3 strikeout walk ratio. That's the thing, Perez. can be a bit wild at times, and he needs to clean that up. But he's also pretty difficult to hit. I think he is the better pitcher here, and that's part of the reason why Miami's a pretty big favorite here. But, it might be warranted. The money is coming in on Miami. They're minus 184, 72% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Miami. But I was leaning under in this game. The under in this game almost was a consideration for me. You'd have to pay about minus 120 now to go under 7.5 on this, though. Public looks like they want over. 80% of tickets, 97% of the cash on the over. But I think under makes sense because both pitchers are pretty unfamiliar. But I have my concerns still a little bit with both of them. I do have concerns about the bullpens as well. So under first 5 innings might make more sense in this game. But 7 is a key number, of course. So if you get under the 7.5 full game, sometimes I will do that instead of trying to go like under 3 in the first 5. Because like 3 is really, really cutting it close for a first 5 bet. But then again, these bullpens are pretty untrustworthy. So that's why I kind of just decided, I'm going to leave this one off my card. I would not disagree with the Miami side in that game either. But, I think I prefer like some sort of under in that game, but don't prefer it strongly enough. Pittsburgh at the Mets. I told you I thought Pittsburgh was a little bit overvalued because Paul Skeens was on the mound in that first game, man. And Paul Skeens had his worst performance in the majors, giving up 5 runs without getting out of the first inning after he was staked to a 2-0 lead. That's pretty ridiculous. I don't think Pittsburgh is very good, man. I really don't. I do not understand the hype. Skeens is really good, obviously, but Pittsburgh is still going to be pretty bad this year. I don't think they're going to come in last place in their division this year. I think the Cardinals are horrible, but even so, they're not that good. The Mets, I think, are definitely in contention to win the NL East this year. I believe the Mets won that game like 11-7 or something like that, so it's very high scoring. Oh, by the way, I will say Colorado-Miami yesterday, very low scoring, 2-1, so I'm kind of surprised that the public would want to come in and play an over in that game because it's not a Coors Field game. Yesterday it was so low scoring, you would think that fewer people would want to go over there, but because it was low scoring, I kind of hesitate to want to say this game is also going to be low scoring. Yes. Livy Dunn, she should break up with Paul Skeens and marry me instead. She can get shirtless piggyback rides from me instead. I have broad shoulders, man. Put a broad on my shoulders. All right. Mitch Keller is pitching for Pittsburgh here. He's not a bad pitcher. I mean, he goes kind of under the radar because he doesn't have that name recognition, but he's decent. Against the Mets, his numbers are actually pretty good in his career. 77 at-bats, 208 average, allowed 626 OPS. That's pretty good. The walk number is too high, 24-12 strikeout walk ratio. But it looks like it's because he kind of pitches around the best guys here, the best hitters, Lindor and Soto. Soto has hit him well. Lindor has not, but he's kind of pitched around them with walks. Our old pal David Peterson is pitching for the Mets, the guy who always has a horrendous whip. And I keep saying, like, this guy's going to regress. He's not that good. It keeps not happening, except it did at the end of last year. He did regress, and his ERA went way up at the end of the season last year. I'm not a Peterson fan, as you know. I don't think he's that good. He gets a lot of ground balls, which is why he kind of succeeds when other guys would fail, because he definitely puts way too many guys on base, which I think you're just skating on thin ice when you do that. His numbers against the Pirates are not horrible. In 63 at-bats, 22-12 strikeout walk ratio is not good, though. That's way too many walks, again. 206 batting average allowed is good because, again, he induces a lot of ground ball outs. But 730 OPS, that's teetering on like the high side there as well. Oh, man. I don't love it. I don't love the game at all. The Mets have gone all the way up from minus 135 to minus 171 here, which I don't even understand why they would have moved that much on the money line. Like, what? Did they change their starting pitcher or something? Like, what is going on with that? Like, I actually probably think there's some value on the Pittsburgh side, to be honest. 81% of tickets, 84% of the cash on the Mets. Mets are going to be a public side. The under is taking money as well here. And, I see the arguments for the under because, again, I just showed you the pitching stats are not that bad, like matchup-wise with these two pitchers here. You have to go under 7.5 full game, though, and I don't know if I'm willing to do that. Pittsburgh's bullpen, I think, was pretty bad last year, if I remember correctly. They might not be that good this year. The Mets bullpen, I think, was all right. But, I would not really want to put my trust in those bullpens. If you wanted to go Pittsburgh first 5 innings and have your money be on Keller to kind of duel Peterson in the first part of this game, I think that there might be a chance that Keller outpitches him, especially because people are going to be like, well, if Paul Skeens couldn't even pitch well against the Mets, then Pittsburgh has no chance to win any of these games against the Mets, right? I think that might be what the public thinks now. So it might be a spot where maybe you can actually find some value on the Pirates side somehow in that game. I don't want to do anything with it, though. Which college basketball team has the hottest cheerleaders? I don't know. I haven't paid enough attention to that, unfortunately. I like the Midwest chicks, though, because they're probably more like Christian, you know what I mean? Although, like, stereotypically, everybody's going to say, like, Florida schools, California schools. And, yeah, those schools do have hot cheerleaders, but I don't know. I like kind of those Midwest ones, man. I'd have to look and see what they look like now. Going to watch that Iowa-Illinois game and, and we'll do the research. Yes. All right. Anaheim and Houston. This is crazy, man, that Anaheim has won the first 2 games of the series. Is Houston really this bad? They can't be, right? I don't know, man. These teams played yesterday. We got the loss with Houston. That was the only loss from the show yesterday. Houston used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Anaheim used 4. Anaheim definitely has the lesser bullpen here. There's no question about that. Houston should have an edge offensively and with the bullpen. Anaheim might actually be going with a bullpen game here. I'm not sure what they're doing because Reed Detmers is their listed starter. He had a good ERA last year, but his whip was not very good. And he mostly came out of the bullpen, but I think he didn't really pitch that much last year. I think he might have been injured. Let me see. No, he actually pitched a lot of the season, more than I thought. So he was pretty much a relief pitcher yesterday. So I don't know if that means Anaheim's going with a bullpen game in the 3rd game of the year. I honestly have no idea what they're doing. Although Detmers has made starts before in his career as well that have gone longer into games, but he's no mystery to Houston. Houston has 100 at-bats against him. He has a pretty bad 22-13 strikeout walk ratio against him. Yeah, that's quite bad. 290 batting average allowed, 817 OPS allowed. None of those numbers are good. So if Detmers is in this game for an extended period of time, I don't think that's a good thing for Anaheim either. Christian Javier is pitching for the Astros. He's okay. I mean, I think he was injured and came back later in the season last year. He wasn't great. He wasn't awful. He does have good numbers against Anaheim, though. I mean, they're a pretty bad lineup. 76 at-bats against him. Trout is 0 for 14 against him with 10 strikeouts and 2 walks. That's insane. He completely destroys Mike Trout. Trout, I know, has been injured basically every single season. He's actually playing right now, but Javier actually has done great against him. Javier has 26 strikeouts, 6 walks against Anaheim overall, 171 average allowed, very low, and 534 OPS, also very low. I think you have to give the edge to Houston in this game again here, man. They're minus 140, 91% of tickets, 99% of the cash. Houston going to try to avoid a sweep here, man. I'm assuming they're playing tomorrow, too, because Sunday is usually the last game of the series. But after losing the first 2 games at home, even though they're the better team, you got to think Houston is going to do something in this game, man. I would lean to Houston money line in that game, but not going to be on my card. White Sox, Milwaukee. These teams played 2 days ago. Now, Milwaukee won 14-2, I think, in that game. So people are only going to want to play Milwaukee here. They're probably only going to want to play overs here. We know Milwaukee, based on last year, their hitting has been really good in Milwaukee. this pitching matchup does look like, it might be a little bit over-conducive as well. Burke is pitching for the White Sox. He really trailed off later in the season. One of their Massachusetts starters that they have there, him and Shane Smith. Smith was the better of the two, though. Burke had a really high whip by the time the season was over, which I don't like, obviously. Against Milwaukee, though, they have not seen a lot of him. 15 at-bats against him. 3-4 strikeout walk ratio is really bad, but they only have 2 hits off him. No extra base hits. 133 average, 449 OPS. He may do well here because it's a small sample size. Milwaukee's just not that familiar with him. And Chad Patrick is pitching for Milwaukee here, who's one of their young starting pitchers here. He's done okay for them. His whip was a little bit higher than I would want to see last year. His ERA looked good, but the whip indicated that he was a little bit worse than that. But you want to talk about 15 at-bats. I think both these pitchers have 15 at-bats worth against the opposing lineups here. The White Sox are 3 for 15 off him. 3 strikeouts, no walks, 1 extra base hit, a double from Meadroth. I don't even know how you pronounce his name. Meredith, what? So 200 batting average allowed, 467 OPS allowed there. So both pitchers are pretty unfamiliar with the opposing lineups. And because that first game was so high scoring, I'm tempted to say under in this game. I know it sounds completely insane, but I think that might be the way I would kind of look at this game. The total's at 8. We don't really see the money coming in on this yet. As far as the side, Milwaukee's dropped to minus 183. 84% of the tickets are on them. We don't really see the rest of the numbers yet. Milwaukee is definitely going to be a public side. I would not want to lay it with Milwaukee here, really, in any capacity. If you forced me to give you a lean on that game, I would say under, but that game is far from being a play for me. Kansas City is at Atlanta. These two teams played, I think, 2 days ago, and Atlanta won 6-0. Or was that yesterday? No, that was yesterday. My mistake. We always look at the bullpens here. I feel like I overanalyze the baseball here. Anaheim used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Kansas City used 2. Kansas City had a pretty good bullpen last year. If I remember correctly. Part of it probably because it's a pitcher-friendly park. Atlanta's bullpen was okay as well. Have I really gone through all these games at this point? Yeah, I guess I have. All right, so it'll be like an hour, less than an hour to get through all these. Pitching matchup here is somewhat interesting, I guess, with Michael Wacha is pitching for Kansas City. He's been around for a long, long time, man. He's good. He's a command pitcher. He doesn't come in and blow guys away, but he has good control. Doesn't put a ton of guys on base, really. Gets guys out. He does what he's supposed to do. He's the type of pitcher that nobody wants to really bet on, so that's what I like. You know what I mean? A pitcher that's better than people think he is because he's not like this flashy pitcher. His numbers against Atlanta are okay. In 61 at-bats, 15-4 strikeout walk ratio. Again, he doesn't strike a lot of guys out. Doesn't really walk a lot of guys either, though, despite his name being Wacha. 246 batting average allowed. 735 OPS allowed is a little bit higher, though. He's allowed a few too many hits, hard hits to the Braves, but overall still decent numbers against the Braves. He's going up against Ronaldo Lopez, who I think has kind of been injured. Lopez, kind of a large gentleman, 225 at 6'1". That's big. He did not pitch much last year, I don't believe. I think he's better than what his numbers last year suggested, of course, because those numbers looked really bad. But he's facing a pretty weak Kansas City lineup. 55 at-bats against them lifetime. 13-1 strikeout walk ratio is very good. 218 batting average allowed and 650 OPS. So Lopez has actually done pretty well against Kansas City. Pretty much all the money is coming in on Atlanta here. Basically, I think the feeling is that Lopez, I think, is just way under the radar here. Atlanta up to minus 145 here. 60% of tickets, 94% of the cash on Atlanta. The money also coming in on the over, which somewhat surprises me. I don't have a good gauge on the total here. I think I would agree with the money here and agree with Atlanta because I do think Lopez is a bit under the radar here. I don't think that the bullpens are really a huge advantage one way or the other. And I do think Atlanta still has the better offense, even though I know Profar is never going to play again. He's just going to be suspended for the rest of his career. But Atlanta still has some other bats there. And I know they lost Ozuna as well. So, yeah, if you watch my season preview, I'm not that high on Atlanta. And Kansas City's pitching might actually... Kansas City definitely could make the playoffs this year. I will admit that. And usually I like pitching, but I think Lopez is actually better than people think he is. So that's my breakdown on that. Yankees at San Francisco. If the Yankees are going to lose a game, I could pray that they're going to start losing some games. Maybe it'll be a game with Will Warren pitching. Will Warren was notoriously bad on the road last year. He's a young pitcher for the Yankees. He was actually pretty good at home, but on the road he had like a 5 ERA last year. But he's facing a San Francisco lineup that's not that good. He's in a pitcher-friendly park here, so maybe this isn't the worst matchup for him, although overall his whip was actually pretty bad last year. He does not have a lot of at-bats against the Giants, so they're not that familiar with him. They have 9 at-bats against him. He has no strikeouts against them, though, 2 walks, and he's given up a double to Ramos. Not a whole lot you can gauge from that, but maybe he has a little bit of an advantage just because San Francisco hasn't seen him much. Tyler Mahle is pitching for the Giants here. They picked him up over the offseason. He pitched pretty well for the Rangers last year. Now he's going to another pretty pitcher-friendly park, which I think should serve him pretty well. How good is he going to be? I don't know. And this is a tough draw against one of the best offenses in baseball, the Yankees. 75 at-bats there for Mahle against them. 19-8 strikeout walk ratio is not terrific. 253 average allowed is not bad, but he's allowed an 872 OPS to them. Goldschmidt and McMahon have both kind of wrecked him, and they're both very familiar with him because, well, actually, I don't know why, because I was going to say they used to be in this division, but that's not right. Well, yes, it is. Goldschmidt was on Arizona, and McMahon was on Colorado, but where was Mahle? Was he in this division before? No, he was on Cincinnati earlier in his career, because I was going to say he's in the NL West now, but that's not where he was before. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's the best matchup for Mahle here, so I don't know. The Yankees are a public side, but they flipped from plus 125 to minus 127. I don't think that's right. I don't think the Yankees were an underdog when this opened. I would highly doubt that. I think maybe they were minus 125, and the screen just is fucked up. 74% of tickets, 90% of the cash on the Yankees. Money also kind of coming in towards the over in this game. So do with that information what you want. The money is saying Yankees and over, and I don't really have a strong opinion to the contrary there because, again, Warren is bad on the road. Mahle has been seen before by the Yankees. I'm not necessarily going to disagree with an over. I probably still wouldn't really disagree with the Yankees again either. Yes, I told you Judge, he went over his player prop. I'm not a props guy, but I told you that yesterday after his horrible season opener. Bounce back time, plus he had really good numbers against Robbie Ray. So Judge definitely went over his hits plus runs plus RBIs prop. I think he did it just by hitting a home run. So there you go. I would not have played the home run prop or the total bases prop, but he won all of those. So yes, and I am not a fan of the Yankees. Fuck them. I want to see them lose every time. Fuck them. Yankees suck. And yeah, Aaron Boone, I'm glad that they have him there as a manager because he's an idiot. Fuck Boone, by the way. What's up? Why do I forget the... Aaron fucking Boone, that's the phrase. Fuck that guy. R.I.P. to Tim Wakefield. No, I'm going to root for the Dodgers over the Yankees, no question. Fuck the Yankees. No. I don't even like the Dodgers, and no, I'm rooting for the Dodgers over the Yankees every fucking time. Fuck the Yankees. All right. Let's see here. Detroit at San Diego. This is a game, I actually kind of like the over in this game, even though it's a pitcher-friendly park. It's early in the season. Last night's game got a little bit dicey. We had the under here on the show, and we did get the win. It should have been a lot easier, I think. The starting pitching definitely did their job. First 5 inning would have been a no-sweat winner. This pitching matchup is not good, though. Jack Flaherty is pitching for the Tigers. San Diego's pretty familiar with him because he was on LA for a bit there. They have 91 at-bats against him, 26-14 strikeout walk ratio. That is pretty bad. 275 batting average and 822 OPS here. So, he's allowed some pretty good hitting numbers to San Diego here. Fuck you, Pinsy. The Red Sox have the 6th best odds to win the World Series this year. They were in the fucking playoffs last year, and they have a huge amount of young talent. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about? The Red Sox are not even that much worse than the Yankees. You're a fucking idiot. Get the fuck out of here. All right. Randy Vasquez pitching for the Padres. You know I don't like this guy. He has an ERA that makes him look like he's pretty good, but he walks everybody. His whip is just sky high, although he actually did start pitching better towards the end of the year. So, I don't know what to think about Vasquez. I'm not a fan, though. Only 13 at-bats from Detroit against him, so I guess he's not that familiar to them, but 3 strikeouts, 4 walks, that's not good at all. 385 batting average allowed is certainly not good. 1325 OPS, that's all bad. So, I don't like either pitcher here, man. That's just what it comes down to. The matchup numbers for neither one of them look good either. So I actually think the over is the way to play this game. The money is coming in towards San Diego for what that's worth, too. Detroit's down from -125 to -106. 55% of the tickets are on Detroit. 53% of the cash on San Diego. Money coming in on San Diego. The total's gone up a little bit. I think maybe there is some actual money on the over here as well. It's in no man's land in the 8s, so you can play the over at a decent price there, I think, and that is the way. I would lean to the over in that game, like I said. And, the bullpens are not exactly rested, although the bullpens aren't bad, but the bullpens did not help us out last night. They almost killed us. San Diego has used a lot of their bullpen over the last 2 days, which is not good. 4 relief pitchers yesterday. Detroit actually used a little bit less of theirs, but their bullpen is the lesser of the two. So kind of a lot going on in that game. I would not want to play San Diego, though. I never trust Vasquez, man. So that's not, that's all I have to say about that. That's not really what they always do, but they did. They should not have let Mookie Betts go and fucking, who else did they let go there? They let a couple of guys go that they shouldn't have. Betts, Bogarts, maybe one of those other guys, the guys that won that World Series. That was stupid, but I was pro the Devers trade. Devers is a fucking moron. He didn't want to be here. He doesn't put in the effort. Fuck that guy. I was for that trade. The Red Sox picked up Garrett Crochet when he was like 23 years old, so that was a good signing. Sorry, that was a good trade, but yes, they had to trade away one of their catchers for him, yes. But whatever. The Red Sox, they're making a lot of trades. A lot of people don't like them. I think that the moves that they've made over the last year or so have actually been okay. Even though, I'm not a Breslow fan either, dude. I kind of want him out of here, but I don't think the moves that the Red Sox have made over the last year have been bad. I really don't. The only one that I really had an issue with was getting Mott's as a rental and giving away Blaze Alexander for him. But Alexander's not even on St. Louis anymore, so maybe Alexander's not going to turn into anything. That was kind of the only one that I really didn't like. I didn't really love them trading the password either, but they have too many outfielders, so that's the thing. But right now, dude, they signed Crochet to a long-term deal. It doesn't look like they're going to be giving up Roman Anthony. They have not traded away Early or Tolley. Tolley is in AAA right now, though. And Early's in the bullpen. But, they've kept all those guys at least. And Marcelo Meyer's still here. I don't know. I mean, again, they've kept the young guys they have right now. I think they are trying to build this team around those guys. Roman Anthony, etc. Betts had a great homer last night. I didn't see it. Dodgers are just, they're good on offense at home. No. What? They made a couple of dumb signs. Like I think they made one other trade. Yeah, they should not have gotten Dustin May. That was a trade, right? Dustin May was a trade, and then they signed Walker Buehler before last year. Those guys are both already off the team. So, like, what do you want from me? I told you Buehler sucks. I told you May sucks. They're not on the Red Sox anymore. They're both gone. So, whatever. I think Buehler was a free agent signing, so that they didn't lose anybody by doing that. And then Dustin May, yeah, that was a stupid trade. I forget who they gave up for him. That was dumb, but yeah, all right, that was one other one that I disagreed with, but whatever. Well, I don't know. I mean, he could maybe be an elite closer or something. Who knows? Elite closers are definitely a valuable asset. I like dude. If you saw totally that video that came out like a couple of weeks ago, right? Where he was giving that PowerPoint presentation to the team, and he like took his shirt off and whatever. I don't even remember what the presentation was about. I was like, this guy rules, man. And he looks like Reed Coverdale. So yeah, they better keep Tolley. Their starting rotation just has too many guys in it right now. So I don't know what they're doing. They're developing Tolley right now at Worcester, the Woo Sox, because they moved away. Dude, the Paw Sox moved from one extremely shitty crime-ridden area in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, to Worcester, Mass, to another one. So isn't that just great? Arizona at the Dodgers here. Arizona, they suck. The Dodgers are obviously the way better team here. Oh, wait, I wanted to look at the pitching matchup here. Dodgers have already won, I think, 2 games against them already. I don't like either of these bullpens, and both bullpens pitched last night. Dodgers used 6 relief pitchers yesterday, so that's not good. So I would not want to factor the Dodgers bullpen into anything that I want to do unless I'm fading them today. Diamondbacks, I pretty much want to always fade their bullpen. They used 3 relievers yesterday. So, that's something to take into account here. Christian Campbell, did they trade him? I don't even remember. Oh, they still have him. Yeah, he's in AAA. He's another outfielder. They have too many outfielders, though. Yeah, I mean, maybe they brought him up too early, but, I don't know. I think he's going to be good, and if somebody gets hurt, he's probably going to be one of the next guys to come up for the outfield. So I like him. We'll see what happens. Red Sox also held on to Rafaela. He's been way better than expected, too. So, all right. Erod, speaking of Red Sox, he used to be on the Red Sox. He was on their World Series team, I'm pretty sure, in 2018. I would not want him on the Red Sox right now, though. I will tell you that. He used to have good stuff. He's had Tommy John surgery. He hasn't been the same since then. He was really awful last year. Against the Dodgers, he's been pretty bad. 131 at bats, 34-16 strikeout walk ratio. That's not good. 305 batting average allowed, bad. 928 OPS allowed, very bad. So don't think we can expect Erod to do a whole lot here. Obviously, there's a huge starting pitching edge with the Dodgers here. Tyler Glasnow is pitching here. He's their number 3 starter. He'd be an ace on like every other team in baseball, and he's the number 3 starter for the Dodgers. Oh, my God. Wait, who pitched for the Dodgers last night? I don't even remember. Oh, Emmett Sheehan did. Yeah, I think Glasnow's better than him. Glasnow's probably actually their second best starter behind Yamamoto. I might argue he's still their best. I don't know. And do they still have Snell in there too? I don't even know. Anyway, against the Diamondbacks, Glasnow has been all right. 31 at bats against them. 7-4 strikeout walk ratio is not very good. You'd expect that to be better. You'd actually expect he would have more at bats against them. But that's because he was on Tampa Bay until like last year or something, and then he has been hurt most of the time he's been on the Dodgers. 226 batting average allowed, 701 OPS allowed. The OPS is a little bit high, but other than that, he's done pretty well. Obviously, he's the way better pitcher here. I'm going to say it yet again. I think Dodgers over their team total might be the way to look at this game. Over in general in this game, I wouldn't disagree with it. The money looks like it is coming in on the over here. Fading both bullpens. I wouldn't disagree with any of that. Even though if you want to go over here, you have to kind of dodge like a good start from dodge the Dodgers. You have to dodge Glasnow actually being good, though. That's kind of the one problem there. I would rather just fade Arizona here, even though I want to kind of fade the Dodgers bullpen here too. But I think Dodgers over their team total makes sense to me. The Dodgers are minus 235 on the money line. They're going to be public. I don't really see another way to play the Dodgers in that one, though. I mean, if you want to go run line with it, all right. But, it seems like when the Dodgers win, they do tend to win by margin at home. But I would not want to really do it. And then Cleveland and Seattle. These two teams have already played twice. They played yesterday. It was a lower scoring game yesterday and a Seattle win yesterday, 5-1. So these two teams have split the first two games. Cleveland used 2 relief pitchers yesterday. Both these bullpens should actually be fairly good. Again, I think especially Seattle. Seattle used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. I would not necessarily want to, I still wouldn't fade the bullpens in this game. And I actually like the starting pitching matchup too. Joey Cantillo is pitching for Cleveland. He started pitching pretty well towards the end of the season last year. The Mariners have basically never seen him before. Only former Red Sox Rob Refsnyder is the only hitter they have who's ever faced him before. He's 1 for 3 off him with a single walk and a strikeout. But Cantillo is basically completely unfamiliar to Seattle, so I think that's an advantage to him early on because they haven't seen him before. By the way, a couple of these games are on Fox. The Yankees game is What Else Is New, and then this game is on MLB Network. Brian Wu will finally make his debut for the season here as the third starter for the Mariners, even though I think he's clearly their best starter. He's been really good like the whole time he's been up in the majors, man. I'm a Wu fan. I like him. He's not good against Cleveland, but it's in a very small sample size of 8 at-bats. But Kwan has a home run off him. They're 3 for 8 off him with a home run, a double from Naylor, 1 strikeout, 1 walk. So his numbers don't look good, but very small sample size. I'm not about to say that, you should fade Wu here or anything like that. Seattle's up to minus 181, 88% of the tickets, 99% of the cash on Seattle. I would go under in this game, and the money is already, it looks like the initial move was towards the under. It's already under juiced on the 7 there. So you could have had under 7.5 at a really good price there. It's already juiced to the under 7. So I think the real money did come in on the under, even though it looks like some of the money's on the over here. I would go under in that one. You could make it maybe a first 5 inning bet if you want to as well, but I don't really see much of a reason to leave the Pens out of that one. And it's a night game in Seattle. Seattle pitcher-friendly park. Yeah, under would be the way I would lean in that game. I know I've had under leans in 2 of those Seattle-Cleveland games, and the first one was not. That would not have been a winner. I did not give out a play on it, though. All right, let's go to college basketball next, and then I'm going to take a break and after that, and then we have a ton of NHL. Long show today. I'm going to give you guys a play in college basketball here, and we have the Elite 8 now. I got 5 out of the Elite 8 right in my bracket. Michigan State made a huge comeback in the game and had a chance, but fell short. I'm not happy about that. So that took out one of my Elite 8s. It took out my Survivor. I should have fucking taken Tennessee. I almost did. I almost switched to Tennessee. And Jefferson didn't play for Iowa State. Bad times for Iowa State, man. Tennessee, I only have them in the Sweet 16 in my bracket, but that was better than a lot of people did. So there you go with that. So at least Tennessee and Iowa, basically nobody had them in the Elite 8. So, so we didn't do that bad with our Elite 8 here. All Final Four for us still alive, and we'll see if that continues here. I do think that both of our teams will win here, but we'll see. Iowa has to face Illinois. Now, Illinois is coming off a very impressive win over Houston, but the final score looked kind of close because I think they won by like 6. But Illinois absolutely trashed Houston in that game, and they did it in Houston, and this game is also in Houston. Now, the Houston fans that were taking up all the seats there are probably just going to clear out. So I think Illinois is definitely going to have a crowd edge here because they have a bigger fan base. I think they just travel better. but they're coming off a massive win. So that's what kind of scares me about Illinois. My first instinct was maybe you actually want to look to fade Illinois here, but then I kind of thought about it. I'm like, I don't know, because the final score actually was not indicative of how dominant Illinois was in that game. Illinois is extremely good on offense. Iowa is a decently balanced team. Iowa plays slow. But the thing about Illinois is way better on offense than Nebraska is, who Iowa just faced. Nebraska, basically they just completely rely on the three. Illinois doesn't do that. Illinois is good at hitting threes, but they also balance their offense, and they score all over the place pretty much. So Iowa might not be able to handle it, and Illinois has a lot of size as well. Illinois is one of the biggest teams in the country. They have a lot of size on the interior. They're all like huge Eastern European dudes on this Illinois team. Iowa is definitely at a size disadvantage here. This is probably where it ends for Iowa. Obviously, I do think Illinois will win this game. And if I was still alive in Survivor, Illinois was going to be my pick today, and we were going to continue in Survivor. Iowa, that was a big win for them against Nebraska. I do think Iowa has a coaching advantage, and that does matter. Like I always talk about in this quick 2-day turnaround, you do want to consider that the better coach has somewhat of an edge here. Ben McCollum over Brad Underwood, but I don't know how much of an edge he might have, because Brad Underwood is the guy who's actually been here before, and he was here like 2 years ago. They played in the Elite Eight. I was in attendance in Boston against UConn. So Underwood has actually been in this exact situation before. The money is actually coming in on Illinois. 64% of tickets, 68% of the cash on Illinois. They're a 7-point favorite now, up from 6.5. And money looks like it's come in a bit on the under, dropping the total all the way down to 138. That is a crazy low total, dude. Like I would not want to go under, especially at that reduced total there. Illinois, you're really risking it with Illinois' offense, and it's not like Iowa's like an elite defense. Iowa's a good team. They're balanced. They play slow. But the thing is, Illinois also plays somewhat slow, although I actually think Illinois is going to try to speed Iowa up a little bit in this game. They might be able to do it, but yeah, I think Illinois wins the game. I wouldn't really want to lay the points, but the money is indicating that way. I guess I would probably lean that way very, very slightly. I kind of went back and forth on this game. No strong opinion for me on this one, though. No. Zone defense is fine because it can, fuck offenses up, but full court press is just so fucking stupid. It's absolutely stupid. No full court press team is going to win a championship. It's not going to happen because you have to put in way too much effort for 6 games in a row. Shaka Smart is an idiot, dude. He's not actually smart. The Havoc style defense, yeah. It's also why Rick Pitino keeps losing in the tournament. I don't think it's good at all. And I hate Duke, so I'm not a St. John's fan either, though. I don't like Pitino. I don't like Duke. Obviously, I have Duke in the championship in my bracket, so, I was expecting Duke to win that game, but I didn't really have that much stake in it. But, yeah, for my obviously the best situation for me with my bracket would be to have Duke go exactly where I have them and to get to the final and lose, specifically to Michigan, but we'll see if that happens. The other game is where we're going to have a play here. I was a coach. I coached intramural basketball. We made the Final Four one of the years that I did it, our best year. We had a good team. We were a lot of shooters. We were an undersized team, good shooting team. I ran, no other team in the league even had a coach at all. I was initially a player on the team. I was a bench player on the team. There was a necktie on the floor of the gym. This was in college. And I just put it on and started coaching. And then I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to go to Dick's. I'm going to get a clipboard. I'm going to start drawing up some plays. It was pretty simple. It was basically like Princeton. You have most of the guys on the perimeter. You have one guy moving in and out. Mostly we were attacking from the outside. It worked because most of the other teams we were up against couldn't shoot. So that's what we were doing, man. We wound up getting out-physicaled by the team that wound up winning the league that year, and that's who we lost to. We were winning that. I think we were winning that game at halftime too, and we got beat up too much physically in that game and couldn't withstand it. And our shots stopped falling a bit in the second half. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the next game is going to be the game I'm going to give you a play on. This number is dropping, so hopefully you can still find the number on this. Although I don't think it's too much of a difference here, but I'd rather have the 6. We're going to take Purdue plus 6 against Arizona. I told you I was doing this. I don't even know what moved this line up from 3.5 to 5.5. I don't think there are any injuries or anything to really be aware of here. I would still probably take it at 5.5, but I think there are still 6s out there, hopefully. 77% of tickets, 73% of the cash on Arizona. You know, the line might still kind of stay around where it is here. It might go up even because I think the public is only going to come in on Arizona here. So it's a game, it's late at night, so maybe you will still get a decent number on this. Yeah, I like Purdue in this one, man, for a lot of reasons. First of all, the situation. Nobody's going to want Purdue because the thought is going to be Purdue just almost lost to 11 seed Texas, man. So nobody's going to want Purdue just based off of that. That looked bad. Yeah, no doubt about it. But if you dig into that game, look at what happened in this game. Purdue had been shooting really hot from three-point range in the first couple of games. Texas, not a good defense, by the way. Purdue just wasn't hitting their shots. But I take that as a positive. Like, look at this. Purdue had 4 3-pointers made in the game, 20% from 3. Texas hit 11 threes, 44%. And I see it as Purdue still won the game, even though Texas was plus 21 from three-point range. Purdue still won the game. That's how I look at the game, man. Purdue won the rebounding battle. They led the majority of the game. They held on to the ball. They didn't turn it over. They were just the more sound, fundamental team, man. And there's no way Purdue is going to shoot this badly from 3 again, even though, yeah, Arizona is actually pretty good at defending the 3. But Arizona doesn't really concentrate on the perimeter that much. Arizona dominates on the inside. And, yes, that is the one concern with Purdue is that their interior defense is maybe not that good. So Arizona might be able to score on the inside. But, again, Purdue coming off that game where people are going to take something away from it that wasn't actually true in that game. The game was misleading in a way. Like, the three-point variance was just so monstrous in that game. And if you take that out of the equation, Purdue should have won that game way more easily. People are going to give Arizona way more respect for killing this Arkansas team that everybody was high on and putting up over 100 points. Everyone's going to love Arizona coming off of that. But needless to say, I don't think Arizona's going to put up 100 points this time against Purdue. And why is that? Well, Arkansas, their defense is worse than Purdue's. Arkansas doesn't even try to play defense, really. They just run up and down the floor, they go fast, and they try to drive on you, which is not a good matchup against Arizona. That was not a good matchup for Arkansas because Arizona's just good on the interior. And, dude, Arkansas couldn't even come close to stopping Arizona defensively. I think Purdue is at least going to put up some resistance here. And the other thing is that Arkansas, they play fast, which is what Arizona wants to do. Purdue does not do that. Purdue's going to try to slow the game down. Then that's going to be a different matchup for Arizona here, man. Arizona's played Utah State even is kind of a mid-tempo team too. So Arizona's not run into a slowdown team yet. Not that Purdue is an extreme slowdown team, but they will probably try to slow this game down here to stay in the game. I like that as well. Purdue takes threes, which Arkansas doesn't really as much. And that's how you beat Arizona is by hitting your threes. And I think Purdue could not possibly be as bad from 3 as they were in that game against Texas. I think there's going to be some positive regression again there. They don't need to be as good as they were from 3 in their first 2 games to just cover here. So I like that too. And then you know what I'm about to say. I like the experience here. Matt Painter over Tommy Lloyd. Tommy Lloyd seems to always kind of just fizzle out in like the Sweet 16, somewhere around there in the tournament. This Purdue team, not only Matt Painter, but like all the best players on this Purdue team, they were all in the championship game like 2 years ago. Like everybody, you got to remember that, right? Like all these guys are still here. Kaufman Rant, I think, was on that team. I think he was like a bench player at that time. The guards like all came back. Smith, Lawyer. These guys have been on this team. Purdue was like the one upper echelon team that has that much continuity and returning experience. And when you get to a point like this, that matters. These guys have been here before. You know what I mean? Like, all of them have been here before, except for, like, I guess they're big men, Clough and whatever. But, yeah, like, Purdue's key guys, like, basically 4 of their starters have been on this team for, like, 3 or more years. So that matters, especially in the NIL and transfer age where players just don't stick around. Purdue is, like, a major outlier as far as that's concerned. They have way more experience and continuity than, like, all these teams. Arizona is not that experienced. They have a lot of younger guys on this team, and yes, they're a deep team. Yes, they're a talented team, but when you get into these, these games really, really late into the tournament, that might be a thing that might wind up knocking Arizona out of this thing, man. I'm not going to say Purdue's actually going to win this game outright, but I think they could actually, I think they have a decent chance to do it. I'm going to be honest with you. I told you when I did my bracket, I would not have beat you up too much for putting Purdue in the Final Four out of this region because nobody was doing it. Everybody was picking Arizona. I know I do have Arizona in the Final Four as well, but and they're favored to get there. Yeah, but the situation, the matchup, the way what it comes down to here. Yeah, I like Purdue plus the points. That's what we're doing there. Yes. Clough, whatever. Yeah, I mean, he looks like a caveman. I don't care. Okay, you want to go up against me? Fine, Mr. Pinsey. I've been doing this for 2 decades. I'm telling you right now, Purdue is going to... I would not be shocked if Purdue won this game. No. The reason why Purdue won is because... one of the reasons is because Purdue is sound fundamentally. Purdue does not commit fouls. And Texas relies on getting to the free throw line. That's been the case all year. Texas needed to get to the free throw line. Purdue dominated the free throw battle in that game. They got to the line way more. They got Texas into foul trouble. It wasn't just because of flopping and whatever. It was legitimate. Purdue they win the foul battle more often than not. And Texas is a team that really relies on winning the foul battle. So that part of the matchup was bad, but I just told you, Purdue dominated that game. The only reason why the game was even close is because Purdue was missing every 3 that they were taking. Again, how often do you have a team that still wins when they're minus 21 from 3-point range? A team is almost never going to win when that's the case, and Purdue still won that game. And that's because Purdue is good, and that was a misleading final result, and people are going to look at the final score and think, Purdue barely escaped an 11 seed. They suck. No, that's not the case. And Texas is also, obviously, they were an underseeded 11 seed as well, and I gave you guys Texas as a bet in the first round, so there you go. Yes, if you're playing Purdue to cover the spread, yes, you should put 10% of it on the money line, yes. All right, I'm going to be right back. We're going to talk about hockey. I don't have any more plays on the show today, though. I hate this, overlap. Dude, why is hockey so imbalanced where we have 15 fucking hockey games on one day? I'm going to be back, and I'm going to talk about it. Hopefully, we'll get the show done in another half hour or so, but I'll be back. All right. Hockey. Let's do this. We do have some afternoon hockey action, a couple of games here. All right. Ottawa at Tampa Bay. Now, of course, late in the hockey season, you got to take into account what the motivation is as far as the playoffs. Ottawa has more of it here because they're fighting to make one of the final playoff spots. Tampa Bay is more solidly in. But, of course, I mean, playing Tampa Bay is motivation enough, probably. Ottawa is coming off a shootout loss to a Pittsburgh team that's also in the playoff mix there as well. That ended a 4-game winning streak for Ottawa as well. So it's not exactly a spot where I'd really want to play Ottawa here. Tampa Bay just lost at home to Seattle. So if this was like middle of the regular season, I would say it's a more positive spot for Tampa Bay to bounce back off of kind of an ugly loss there. Ottawa, a little bit more motivation on their end, though, because of the way the playoffs are shaping up here. Tampa Bay did drop from -160 to -148. Looks like some of the money is on Tampa, though. 61% of tickets, 81% of the cash on Tampa. I don't have a good read on this game at all, so do with that information what you will, man. I don't have a good, I don't have a strong opinion on the game at all. Florida at the Islanders. Florida, they're going to miss the playoffs, man. They're almost eliminated. So I don't know. I don't know what you're going to get out of them playing out the stretch here. They just lost to Minnesota. That was a tough game. Minnesota will be in the playoffs. The Islanders are in the playoff mix right now, I believe. But they're coming off a win over Dallas. That was a big win. And they got Pittsburgh and Buffalo up next. And those two teams are in the mix for the playoffs, too. So is it possible the Islanders actually overlook the team that won the last 2 Stanley Cups? Maybe, because Florida's just not playing that well. The money is indicating on Florida. The Islanders are up to -180. 85% of the tickets, only 69% of the cash on the Islanders. So, yeah, Florida, an anti-public side at this point, man. And maybe Florida will get up for a game here. They pretty much know they're going nowhere, though. But it's tough to gauge. Like, will they get up for a game against the Islanders? I don't know. The money is saying Florida. I don't really disagree with that one. I would slightly lean to Florida as well. There, you get them at a big underdog price. You could do puck line, split puck line, money line, whatever. Anaheim at Edmonton. Excuse me. These two teams are both going to be in the playoffs. Anaheim is winning their crappy division here. I think Edmonton's also in this division, and they're actually behind Anaheim. Anaheim just won at Calgary, barely. Maybe they were looking ahead to Edmonton. I don't think they're going to overlook Edmonton here. I don't think Edmonton's going to overlook Anaheim either. Edmonton is returning home from a road trip, though, although it was only Tuesday, Thursday, so it was a quick road trip. So, not a lot of time for things to build up at home, but still they're traveling back from Vegas. That was a good win over a Vegas team that looks like they're headed for the playoffs as well. Edmonton beat them in overtime. Big win for Edmonton there. So another game where I just don't want to do anything with it. The money is coming in on Anaheim. Edmonton up to -142. 56% of the tickets on them. 56% of the cash on Anaheim, though. I'm not going to disagree with it. Again, you know me. I'm likely to lean towards fading teams returning home from road trips, even though it's not a long road trip. Edmonton is coming off that bigger win, whereas Anaheim is already in Alberta, and they're coming off skating by, pun intended, a pretty bad Flames team. So I think they're in a better position in this one. So I agree with Anaheim there, although they are worse on the road than they are at home. But I just don't have a strong opinion on any of these hockey games, man. That's the problem. My Boston Bruins are at home against Minnesota on NHL Network. The Bruins have been one of the strongest home teams in hockey. They're 26-10-1 at home. Wild have been really good on the road, though. 21-10-4 on the road. So it's an interesting matchup. The Bruins probably need the game more because they're in one of the wild card spots right now. Minnesota is more solidly in the playoffs now. Minnesota did just beat Florida. They were just in Florida. So they're having to go up the East Coast here and play another road game here after beating the 2-time defending champs, even though Florida's not good this year. The Bruins, Just beat Buffalo, though, on the road. That was a big win for the Bruins. They caught Buffalo on a return home, in a return home spot as well. So that was a pretty good spot for the Bruins, a bad spot for Buffalo. Bruins have been off since Wednesday, though, and traveling home from Buffalo, not really that big of a deal. So this is a tough read in this one, man. I think the Bruins do have some of the motivational edges here. The money is indicating on the Bruins. Minnesota down from minus 120 to minus 114. Bruins getting disrespected in the market, man. Odds makers telling you Minnesota's the better team by enough that they're a road favorite here. But 64% of tickets on Minnesota, 65% of the cash on the Bruins. When it comes down to these late season games and, you get these teams that are fighting to even make the playoffs and they're actually a home underdog, I do tend to look that way because you're going to get the effort out of that team. They're going to try to win the game. And that's all they need to do to hit that bet. You know what I mean? So that's those are my thoughts on that game. Hopefully, for my rooting interest, hopefully the Bruins can get it done. Dallas at Pittsburgh as we get into the evening games here. Dallas, they seem to just be kind of coasting right now. I mean, Dallas is definitely going to make the playoffs. They've fallen a bit far behind Colorado, but Dallas is like, it's almost impossible for them to not get the 2 seed right now, but they need to at least win some of these games. I mean, again, they can't lose every game down the stretch here, but they did just lose at the Islanders. They're going to Pittsburgh here. Pittsburgh probably has more motivation because Pittsburgh is less solidly in the playoffs here. Pittsburgh did just beat another playoff contender in Ottawa here in a shootout, and now they're coming back home from that. It was only a single-game road trip, though. They're not going to overlook Dallas, though, and Dallas just looks like they're in cruise control mode right now. I would probably lean to Pittsburgh as the home dog here. Dallas is up to minus 128. 91% of tickets, 99% of the cash on Dallas. Again, I don't think you can read that much into those numbers, but Dallas will be a public side here. I would lean towards Pittsburgh there slightly, but no real opinion there. Yeah, I have a couple of Bruins hats. Maybe I'll burn it. I don't know. The one that I usually wear is a Happy Gilmore style one. It has a ridiculously huge visor for some reason, though. New Jersey at Carolina. You would think that New Jersey would kind of be in cruise control, but they've won 5 of their last 6 games. Some of them against decent teams as well. They just beat Nashville on Nashville's Pride Night the other night. That was a loss that we took on the show. I thought it was a bad spot for New Jersey coming off beating Dallas and with this huge game against Carolina on deck, but whatever. I think they will still probably get up for this game against Carolina, but it's already a successful road trip, and they're getting to the end of the road trip now, which sometimes can tire you out a little bit. Now, Carolina, they don't have too much to play for at this point. They're going to be in the playoffs. It's just kind of a matter of seeding at this point. They're also returning over from a road trip, although they were away for less than a week, but almost a week. They went up to Toronto, Pittsburgh, and Montreal on the road trip. Lost to Montreal to finish the road trip. Lost a 3-game win streak with that. Now they're returning home, and they have a revenge game against Montreal immediately tomorrow. And then Columbus twice. And both those teams are in the playoff picture right now. So I don't think it's a good spot for Carolina. So I do actually lean to New Jersey in this game. This one hasn't made my card, but I like New Jersey here. Carolina, minus 200, 88% of the tickets, only 74% of the cash on them. You can get New Jersey on a puck line, probably basically make it a spread bet here if you want that to come within 1 goal. That seems like a decent approach in that one. That one is probably out of the games I've talked about so far. I probably like that one more than I like any of the other ones. San Jose at Columbus. Columbus is looking like they're probably going to make the playoffs here, and they are returning home from a road trip as well. They've been on the road since Sunday. Actually, I think I misspoke. I think, who did I just talk about? Carolina. I think they've been on the road for a little bit more than a week. Columbus has been on the road for less than a week here. They went to New York, Philadelphia, and then to Montreal, and they had a close game against Montreal, who's probably going to be a playoff team, decent team, and they do have the playoff contending Bruins on deck tomorrow, and then Carolina twice. So they may overlook San Jose, who's a Western Conference team who's not going to make the playoffs. San Jose has lost 6 games in a row. Maybe they will show up for this one after an ugly loss to St. Louis. This is their final game of a 3-game road trip where they haven't won any of the games. So they might give you effort here. So I do like San Jose in this game, and the money is strongly agreeing with me on that one. This would probably, like, if I was going to put any of them on my card, I think it would actually be this one, San Jose. 75% of tickets are on Columbus, 69% of the cash on San Jose. So big pros versus Joes disparity. At least that's how the market appears right now. Columbus down from minus 205 to minus 195. Columbus, I mean, are they really good enough to be laying a price like this against really anybody? I don't know. In San Jose, I mean, they're not like a doormat. They're like a mediocre team. So I don't know, man. Yeah, I like San Jose in that one, though. And that you probably could get basically a puck line situation on that one, too. Seattle at Buffalo. Seattle just beat Tampa Bay, so big win for them. They're going to have to play a couple of big games in a row here, coming up from Florida now. Maybe not the greatest spot for them, but they did end a losing streak with that win. But they played both Florida teams into overtime. They shouldn't overlook Buffalo because Buffalo is one of the top teams in the Eastern standings here, but they're going to have to put up a big effort 2 games in a row here. And Buffalo might actually show up for once. I mean, they're only really playing for seeding at this point. They're going to make the playoffs. So Buffalo has lost both games since the return home. They lost in the return home spot to Boston, and then they lost yesterday to Detroit. But yes, that doesn't mean Buffalo is on a back-to-back here. But that was such a disgusting loss, even though Detroit may be a playoff team here. Buffalo, maybe they will finally show up for once. This is a hard game to read for me. The money is indicating on Seattle, though. Buffalo sitting around minus 190 here, minus 189. 86% of tickets, only 66% of the cash on Buffalo. So the money is saying to look towards Seattle, although I actually kind of slightly disagree with that one. I would slightly have a lean towards Buffalo in that one, but really, really not strong, and I don't want to fade a market read like that. Toronto at St. Louis. Toronto is on a 2-game win streak, even though they're now without Austin Matthews. They know they're not going anywhere this year. They just beat the Rangers, whatever. At home, though, hey, the Rangers are better on the road. Starting a road trip, a lot of times you will be focused to start the road trip. They have a couple of days off here, so they will be rested at least. Maybe they'll be focused. St. Louis is staying at home. They did just get that win over San Jose, so they look like they're at least putting in effort here as well. Very difficult read in this game. St. Louis down from minus 145 to minus 142. 68% of tickets, only 64% of the cash on St. Louis. So the money is indicating on Toronto in this game. So do with that information what you want to, I guess. The market read says Toronto. Market read is also saying under, but I would not play an under in a game where 2 teams basically don't have anything to play for, and their goaltending is kind of questionable as well. I would lean over in a game like that, but no real strong opinion there. Montreal at Nashville. At least it won't be Pride Night again in Nashville, I don't think. Montreal on a nice 3-game win streak here. They just beat Carolina. They beat the Islanders, Carolina, and Columbus, who are all pretty much going to be probably playoff teams for the most part. And they got Carolina and Tampa Bay coming up on deck after this. Carolina tomorrow. So I actually do like Nashville in this game. I think it's somewhat of a sandwich spot here for Montreal. Nashville would be like the least important game during this schedule stretch here. Problem with Nashville is they did just lose a 5-game win streak, and a lot of times when you lose a win streak, it'll hang you over a little bit. And they do have a big game next against Tampa Bay. I don't think they're going to overlook Montreal here, though. I would lean to Nashville here, but the opinion for me is not strong enough on this one. The money is agreeing with me, though, although that didn't help in Nashville's previous game. Montreal down from minus 120 to minus 115 here. 62% of tickets on Montreal, 70% of the money on Nashville, though. So pretty strong market read on Nashville, and I do agree with it. Winnipeg is at Colorado. Colorado, I think, can kind of just coast at this point, man. Like, they're almost locked into the 1 seed in the playoffs at this point. Winnipeg is not going to make the playoffs, but it's a weird spot because Winnipeg just lost at home to Colorado. You know they're probably going to get up for this game, even though they played Colorado pretty tough at home. I think they will get up for another game against Colorado. Colorado might be the team to more likely overlook this game because, well, we just beat Winnipeg already. on the road, and they're coming home from a road trip they've been on since the 20th, so they've been on the road for more than a week. It's one of those return home spots. They just beat this Winnipeg team, so maybe they will take them for granted this time, overlook them. They don't have a big game on deck. If they did, I might consider giving you Winnipeg as a play here, but Colorado only has Calgary on deck, but still, Colorado, they could be in total cruise control mode right now and looking ahead to the playoffs already. Minus 260 is where Colorado's at here. 91% of the tickets are on Colorado. 53% of the cash on Winnipeg, though. So pretty strong market read, again, in alignment with me on the Winnipeg side. I agree with it. You can get a pretty big puck line price on Winnipeg there if you really want to do that. That is the way that I would lean. Don't know if you're going to get Hellebuck in net, because that would help if you have like an elite goaltender. He may very well play in this game, because usually he plays multiple games in a row, and he's played their last 2 games at this point. So he might be in net again, because it is a big game against Colorado. So that might help out as far as Winnipeg staying within a number like that. We have a TV game on ABC between Philadelphia and Detroit. The Flyers, they still have a chance at the playoffs, although it's not a strong chance, but they're still kind of in the hunt here. And they're playing well recently. They've won 4 of the last 5 games, although really mostly against not great teams. But what was good about it is a lot of those games were on the Pacific Coast, so they actually played well on the road. Although they actually caught a couple of those teams in bad spots, if you remember me talking about those. And one of them was a play. I think the Anaheim one I might have given out a play on. I forget. They just crushed Chicago 5-1. Going on the road to play Detroit, but it's a TV game. It's a pretty big game. It might mean a little bit more to Philadelphia, because they're barely hanging on here to try to stay alive in the playoff hunt. Detroit is fighting to make the playoffs as well, but Detroit just beat Buffalo yesterday. That was a big win for them in Buffalo. Now they're on a back-to-back. I know it's not a big travel leg to go from Buffalo back to Detroit, but still. And I know it's a TV game, so maybe they will get up for it, but they got Pittsburgh on deck. Pittsburgh is kind of they're probably going to be a playoff team, I should say. So looking at the standings here for this one, Detroit is fighting to make the playoffs too, though, and they're just they're only 4 points ahead of Philadelphia. So actually both teams should kind of be motivated here, but I kind of lean towards Philadelphia here. The money does agree with me here. Detroit up to minus 144, but 76% of the tickets on them and only 72% of the cash on them. So the money is agreeing with me on that one as well, indicating towards Philadelphia. I don't have a strong opinion on any of these remaining games, but I will say that, if you want me to order these games by how strong my opinion is, oh God. I would say San Jose, then New Jersey. San Jose, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Winnipeg, and then Nashville probably is what I would say. As far as those, but I don't think that any of them are like totally strong enough. Utah at the Kings. The Kings, we know they're not really that good at home. Utah did just lose pretty ugly, 7-4 to Washington. Utah looks like they will be in the playoffs, so they probably want to maintain their playoff spot here. They don't want to fall out of the playoffs, obviously. They're starting a road trip here, so maybe they will get up for it. It might be good for them to just leave home after a really ugly loss. Just go on the road, focus on playing the game. LA is actually returning home from a road trip. It was less than a week, but they actually went to Utah. They did lose to Utah on the road trip, so maybe they won't overlook Utah for that reason. But they went up to the Pacific Northwest, and now they're having to come back home from that. A lot of times, again, it'll be a distraction when you return home. But the things that might make this not a distraction are they just lost to Utah on the road, and the Kings are the first team out of the playoffs right now. They're like 1 point behind Nashville right now for the last playoff spot. So the Kings basically have to show up for these games. So I think that might keep them from really getting distracted here. So I'm a little bit leery of it, man. And the market is actually indicating on the Kings. Utah, 64% of tickets, only 51% of the cash on them. They look like a dreaded public road underdog here. Kings are minus 107 now. I would actually still slightly lean to Utah here, though, man. So do with that what you want to, but the market read is very strongly against it. There's no way I would want to play a team that has that look in the market of a public underdog like that, but just my opinion, I do slightly lean to Utah, but I would not actually put my money on that at all. What? You have CTE? Is that what you're saying? You're not going to remember your plays? Yeah, I don't know. It's my autism, man, although my stroke and whatever and getting old probably has affected my memory a bit, though. Vancouver and Calgary. This is one of those games where both teams are going nowhere. Vancouver's lost 4 games in a row. Maybe they'll show up because they did just lose 4-0 at home, which is pretty ugly, to the Kings. Maybe going out on the road. Maybe they will actually show up because you got nothing better to do, right? Just focus on hockey. But they do have Vegas, Colorado, Minnesota all on deck, which are all bigger games than Calgary. So I guess there's the potential look ahead there. Calgary actually was playing fairly well, winning 4 games in a row, and then they finally lost to Anaheim in another close one in overtime. They got Colorado on deck as well. Losing a win streak could hang them over. Maybe they won't totally get up for a game against the worst team in hockey, Vancouver. So I think the spot is actually worse for Calgary here. I would lean to Vancouver. Calgary's minus 160, but it looks like they're going to be public. 92% of the cash. I don't really want to take that much away from these numbers other than I think they're going to be public. But yeah, I would lean towards Vancouver in that one. I wouldn't be opposed to an over again in a game like this where teams just have really nothing to play for at this one. But the money's coming in on the under, it looks like. So do with that information what you want to. What do I know about totals, man? We'll go back and check and we'll see how my opinions do here. Washington at Vegas is the last game, the late night degenerate special. Washington just beat Utah 7-4 in elevation. Very satisfying win for Washington. Coming off of that, they got to play Vegas now. I don't think they're going to overlook Vegas. Washington is still kind of in the hunt for the playoffs here. They're a bit far back, though. They're the 4th team out right now in the East. East is very, very strange, man. A lot of teams with decent records not going to make the playoffs there. The West is just very lopsided towards the Central Division. As far as Vegas, they're in the playoffs right now because they're in the Pacific Division. So their record's not even good, but they're still in the playoffs right now. But they actually have a lower point total than Utah, who's a wild card right now, which is, again, that's another reason to not really want to fade Utah necessarily today because I think they will have motivation as well because they're trying to make the playoffs. So are the Kings. They both are. That's the thing. Vegas probably needs to put in some effort too here, man, though, because, they're trying to maintain their playoff spot. They just lost to Edmonton, though. It was in a return home spot, so a lot of times teams don't do well in the return home spot, and they play better in that next game. But that was a tough game against Edmonton, so coming off of that, it could be a bit of a hangover spot, too. I don't want to do anything with this game, man. Vegas dropped to minus 151 from minus 160, but it looks like the money is on Vegas. 60% of tickets, 89% of the cash on Vegas here. I see reasons why both teams might have motivation here, so, and also why both teams are kind of in bad spots at the same time because they both had not satisfying games, but one team off a satisfying win, the other team off of a very tough performance. So very, very difficult game to handicap, really from every perspective. But the money is sort of indicating on Vegas for what that's worth. All right, and then we have NBA before we get out of here. There are, I think, 5 NBA games here. No, 6. San Antonio at Milwaukee. This is an afternoon game on Amazon Prime. San Antonio just blew out Memphis. San Antonio, I mean, we know that we know they're going to make the playoffs. We know they're going to be one of the top seeds in the playoffs. I don't know how much they care about the difference between the 1 seed and the 2 seed. They've had a couple of days off. Maybe that'll hurt them, actually, because they're on a big win streak. 7 wins in a row, I think is what that is. So having days off, maybe not necessarily good when you're cruising like that. I guess possible they overlook Milwaukee here. I mean, Milwaukee without Giannis again, whatever. Although it looks like he's supposed to come back again soon. I don't know if they're really going to do that. Milwaukee's returning home from a road trip, though. So they've had the same number of days off, but that's a problem when you return home from a road trip. They went out to the Pacific Coast during that road trip. And again, a lot of times returning home from road trips, they get distracted because they have to get back to family life, whatever. Milwaukee, they know they're not going anywhere this year, so I don't know. But maybe San Antonio, I mean, that's one opponent you might actually still get up for, though, to play one of the better teams in the NBA. And Milwaukee is coming up a couple of very embarrassing losses to finish that road trip, so maybe they will actually show up just to spare themselves the embarrassment a little bit. The money is coming in on the Bucks for what it's worth. Spurs are laying a ton of points. Minus 18 is what they're at right now on the road. 52% of tickets, 81% of the cash on the Bucks. I mean, I don't want to have anything to do with a team returning home from a road trip, though, but I could see the Spurs overlooking this game, too. It's a lot of points to lay. Like, the only way I would lay points on the road like that is if you know your team's going to be super motivated, which I don't think is the case here with the Spurs. So I guess I'll agree with that market read and lean towards taking the points, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Milwaukee just gets blown out of the building, too. It's very, very difficult to handicap that game. Detroit at Minnesota is the big TV game on ABC, which I think ABC has a hockey game on after this too, right? Interesting ABC lineup here. Detroit just beat New Orleans in what I thought would be kind of a bad spot for Detroit because they lost a win streak, but they handled New Orleans, won by 21. Now they go to Minnesota. It's probably bad for ABC that they have this game on the schedule here because both teams are going to be without their star player here. Cunningham, we know, is out with a collapsed lung for Detroit. I don't know when he's coming back, if he even is. Anthony Edwards is still out for Minnesota, so neither of them are playing in this game. So that's something to keep in mind. Both guys have been out for multiple games now, so there's no shift from one game to the next. Minnesota's they're having to play 3 big games in a row. They've just won in Boston, came home and beat Houston in overtime, and that was that insane game where Houston was winning the game by 13 with 3 minutes left in overtime, and Minnesota somehow won the game anyway. Insane. Houston, by the way, did not cover last night. I told you I kind of liked Memphis yesterday as well. That was another one of those close calls. I think Houston won by 10 as like a 12-point favorite. So if you did play Memphis, which was my second strongest NBA lean yesterday, that was also a winner, barely, just like the game that I did actually have as a play. Minnesota, I mean, they're not going to overlook Detroit here, but they're having to play 3 big games in a row, though, which is kind of difficult, but it is kind of an isolated TV game that maybe they should get up for. They do have 2 days off here at the very least to overcome that overtime win. The money is coming in on the T-Wolves. They flipped from a 2.5 dog to a 1.5-point favorite. I don't know why the line moved like that because Edwards is not coming back yet based on what I saw. 53% of tickets, 70% of the cash on the Wolves. So the money is indicated on the T-Wolves. I'm going to agree with that slightly, but I don't have a strong opinion on that game at all. The scheduling setup doesn't look that great for Minnesota, really, to be honest. So, I'm staying off of that. Yeah, San Antonio definitely has tortas, if that's what you're into. Philadelphia at Charlotte. This game, I like Philadelphia in this game, but I don't know if I can quite, deal with it, Charlotte, I think they're in a bad spot, though. They just beat the Knicks. That was a big win to prove themselves against one of the top teams in the East. And they have one of the other top teams in the East tomorrow, the Celtics. So kind of a sandwich spot here for Charlotte. They might overlook this Philadelphia team. It's been playing with a lot of guys missing, but their guys are coming back, and that's the thing. Embiid is already back, and George also came back as well. Now, I like that aspect of Philadelphia here because 2 guys, their 2 best players are back already, so they already got their first game out of the way, you know what I mean? Because that's the game where I usually look to fade that team, although I think in that case, Chicago was actually in a really bad spot in that game. I think I actually leaned towards Philadelphia in that game. Didn't realize George was coming back either, but Philadelphia won and covered. Now, second game with those players back, the team is usually, kind of getting their chemistry back now, and they're moving forward, but the issue is they might be getting more guys back here. It looks like Maxey might come back in this game. It looks like, and I don't know about Oubre. They're both, I think, game-time decisions right now. So that's something to keep in mind, that if those guys come back, it might be another kind of chemistry shift that Philadelphia has to try to overcome here. So that worries me a little bit. And the other thing is, I don't really want to play in a team that just put up 157 points. You know what I mean? Like, whenever a team puts up that amount of points, a lot of times they're going to be overvalued in the market in the next game. So those are the things that worry me about the game. I still lean to the 76ers here, though. Hornets are a 6-point favorite, 57% of tickets on them, 55% of the cash on the Sixers. I still think the spot is bad enough for the Hornets that I do lean towards taking the points with the Sixers there. All right, next game up, Sacramento at Atlanta. This game, I think, was actually the closest to me putting it on my card. Atlanta just played yesterday in Boston. Big game, and they lost to the Celtics by 7. Celtics did not have Jaylen Brown playing in that game. I think Derek White did play, but it was a big game. Atlanta lost a 3-game win streak. They were coming off playing Detroit the game before that into overtime. So now they're playing 3 big games in a span of 4 days, all in different cities. And they have Boston again next. So they're in a Boston sandwich, man, which is a Celtic sandwich, which, I don't know, what would that be? A corned beef sandwich there? Yeah, probably. So that's what they're in the middle of here. They might overlook Sacramento, who has pretty much packed it in for the season, but then that's the question. Will you get effort out of Sacramento here? I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a tough spot for Atlanta on a back-to-back Celtic sandwich. Sacramento had yesterday off. They might maybe have some motivation to try to get a win here on the road trip. They did just play really tough against Orlando, though, and that's kind of the issue I have with Sacramento here is they were like 19.5-point underdogs in that game against Orlando, and they almost won the game. They were winning that game late in the game, and then they lost by 4, and I think the game was tied with like a minute or 2 left. So Sacramento put in a huge effort, and you know what I always say, when a team is coming off a massive effort like that as a big underdog, I don't like to play them in their next game. So it's a horrible spot for the Hawks, and I don't trust the Hawks because the Hawks in this recent win streak, if you want to call it that, as I pointed out every time I talk about the Hawks, they've mostly beaten bad teams. The only actual legit team they beat was the Pistons there. Like, they've been just beating up on bad teams, but yes, of course, Sacramento is a bad team. There's no question about that. But you're asking Atlanta to lay a ton of points. They're down from 16.5 to 15. 62% of tickets, 63% of the cash on Atlanta right now. I would only take the points with the Kings, though, if I was going to play that game. But that one's not going to be on my card, unfortunately, because it looked like we could fade Charlotte and Atlanta here, but it's just that I don't like what's going on with the other teams in those matchups either. Chicago at Memphis. Chicago coming into this game they played last night, and they were playing really close into the fourth quarter against the Thunder, and then they had the worst fourth quarter that you'll ever see. They still covered for us, but I don't know what Chicago's going to do after that, man. They were playing really close to Oklahoma City for the majority of the game, lost by 18. They got San Antonio on deck. Chicago might not have full focus against Memphis here, man. They're playing on a back-to-back to a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. Fourth game in 6 days as well, all in different cities. Memphis, what are you going to get for them as an effort, though? Because they played yesterday, too. They lost by 10 to Houston. They were fairly close late in that game, too, against Houston. But it's probably a better spot for Memphis just because they are staying at home here, which might be the difference here. The money's coming in on the Bulls, though. They're up to a 4-point favorite on the road here. 68% of tickets, 85% of the cash on them. I don't know if there was like a Bulls player who was injured or something that might not, that was considered to be questionable but is now playing. I have no idea because I think Giddey has been playing for their last several games, so I don't know. I don't know why the line moved like that. I think I would lean slightly towards taking the points with the Grizzlies, although we know the Grizzlies are basically they're playing an entire team of backups, but you will sometimes get effort out of those backups, though. But of course, they did put in a pretty good effort last night. Both of these teams did, and that's the thing. Difficult game to handicap. Over makes sense in that game, by the way. Money looks like it started to come in on the under, but the total did initially go up 3 points to a very high 246, but it's that high for a reason, man. When you have two teams that aren't going anywhere this year, you know what I mean? And they're also on back-to-backs, so the defenses are going to be tired. It could turn into just a total scrimmage, man. So over, I think it actually might be the preferable way to approach that game. Toad sandwich spots, that's just, I mean, dude, I already do like way too much content, and that is what this, unless you're talking about me reviewing sandwiches, literally. But that would also be, I'd be ripping off Marco D'Angelo, because he does that. He has Marco's Deli. Great show, by the way, on Wager Talk. He does his situational spots on that show. And he's the guy that I've learned the most from. I'm not going to rip that guy off. I love Marco. But no, I mean, my sandwich spots, I talk about literally everything on this show, so it would just be me repeating myself. I mean, I could, I guess, clip some of these things and do it, but I don't know. Literal sandwiches. I reviewed one yesterday. I don't know. I'm only doing like I'm tweeting out reviews right now, but I don't know. I mean, too many people do food reviews too. I don't know how I would separate myself. Utah at Phoenix is the final game here. Utah is also on a back-to-back. They played in Denver last night, and they played really well against Denver last night. They almost won that game. They lost by 6, but Utah was winning that game for like a majority of the second half, and then they blew it at the end. That's going to be tough to bounce back from, even though they're playing a Phoenix team that will be in the playoffs. They do have Cleveland and Denver again on deck, and then Houston, and then Oklahoma City, so you could make the argument it is a sandwich spot here. 3 games in 4 days here, back-to-back of a really, really big effort game for Utah. They could definitely fall flat here for sure. But Phoenix is also coming off a really big game against Denver where they fell just short. But the better thing for Phoenix is they're staying at home and they've had 3 days off. So obviously that's an advantage to Phoenix here. The problem with that is you have to lay a shitload of points if you want the Suns here. You got to lay 16.5. They're still without Dylan Brooks here, although that is factored into the line. Phoenix has been good at covering, but you're asking them to cover a massive number here. Like, I like the Suns as a home underdog for sure, but not when they're laying a ton of points here. 61% of tickets, 86% of the cash on the Jazz. There is no way that I would play the Jazz here either, though, off of what they did last night. I would actually lean towards laying the points with the Suns if I was going to play this game, but I got to stay away from it completely. So that is it, man. We're being real selective here. We got just 2 plays here today. We're going to college basketball. We're taking the 6 points with Purdue, and we're going Chicago Cubs money line to bounce back from that atrocious season opener there. Actually, did the Cubs play yesterday too? I don't think they did, right? Hold on. Let me just look real quick. I just got to make sure they didn't. Yeah, they did not. So, yeah. Cubs in the bounce back spot. Plus, getting to fade Mikolas in the worst stadium for him in Wrigley. Let's do it, man. Cubs will be the play there. Gave out a couple of hockey leans that I just don't think are totally strong enough. That's going to do it, man. Let's have a good day. Very selective day. Let's get wins today. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Hopefully I didn't piss Mr. Pinsey off too much. Dude, you come in, you're going to, talk shit about the Red Sox, talk positively about the fucking Yankees, and, also go up against one of my best plays of the day. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to give you some shit back. I don't know. I'm an asshole. I'm a masshole as well. I'm an asshole, yo. That's a Massachusetts song too. Dennis Leary, Massachusetts comedian. You can go listen to that song if you've never heard it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. This has been way too long of a show. Like, subscribe. Give me good comments on the channel here. Boost this fucking channel. We're on audio as well. Listen over there, Apple, Spotify, whatever. Give me good reviews over there as well. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube, so you can check that out as well. The Uke covers will keep flowing. Patreon.com/LearnToToad, where I basically don't do anything. Trying to give people some requests at least. I know a couple of people have some requests that I haven't been able to do, but I got to pick and choose ones that actually make sense too. So I don't know. Maybe I should just not be doing that still, but I appreciate the support. Loser Cast will be back on Tuesday, and that is it. Let's get some wins today.